Welcome to this edition of Smoky Mountain Sports. I'm Daniel Sparkman along with Brian Hamilton. Week 5 of high school sports turned out to be kind of a rough one for some of our teams, and week 3 for college football about the same, Brian.
Oh, yeah, we got most of our top 4, fared well, which we're fixing to talk about. Alcoa, they remain undefeated. They are our only undefeated now. And then Maryville, they escaped Bearden. And then, you had Sevier, getting pounded by West. And so they fell back, but not extremely far, because those about 5 and below just all got taken to the woodshed, it seemed. But Jefferson County and Gatlinburg's both seem to be moving up. They keep kind of hanging back there behind those top teams. Now, one of those is in prime pole position now, which we will tell you about.
Yep, and let's go ahead and start with last week's game of the week, which was Morristown East versus Jefferson County. Had one of our great correspondents out there for this game. And Brian, how did it go down?
Yeah, this game really never was close. I was checking the score. Christopher, our correspondent that helps us out in that Lakeway area, Jefferson County just came out strong. They didn't fare well the week before, only slipping past Halls by a touchdown. Halls is not great this year, but they did a number on Cocke this week, so it's hard to tell, about Halls. But I thought that Jefferson County was good enough to beat them by more than a touchdown, and they responded by coming out with a great showing, defeating Morristown East 35-12 on Mo East homecoming. So I know that they were upset about that, but Jefferson County is just a good football team. That's what happens when you schedule a good football team for homecoming.
Unfortunately, that's been our Achilles the whole year. We're starting out really, really slow. We get way behind, and then we got to battle our way back. And we've kind of done it in every ball game. Matter of fact, we have done it in every ball game. So we got to find a way to start better. I don't know if it's the motion of our guys or something that we got to do pregame, something we got to change. We're going to check that out right here on the bye week and figure out what we need to do to have some more motion and come out and play a little bit harder in the first half. And again, another game, 4th game in a row, we played really good in the second half and shown what we can be, but we've got to do that earlier on and not put ourselves in a hole.
I'm still frustrated, I thought we left some points on the field the first half. We didn't have a very good execution of PAT on the first one. Went for 2, probably should have kicked it. Keep kicking, don't chase points. Something for me to learn from. I won't be chasing points, and we'll be kicking extra points as we go. We want perfection. This ain't about today. It's about when you're playing in October, November, and all the way to December. And that's what it's about, right? Hey, it's great to be 2-0 in our region. We control what we want to control right now. We get a week off to get healthy, learn from some things. Hey, and we got DB coming in our place.
And as we take a look at our week 4 top 10, you kind of see where everybody was, Alcoa, Maryville, Sevier County, Gatlinburg, Pittman, Morristown West, Jefferson County were 5 and 6. Then Lakeway Christian, Northview Academy, Heritage, and Carter. And now let's introduce our week 5 top 10. Alcoa and Maryville still 1 and 2, but how's it shaking out, Brian?
Yeah, Alcoa, they just kind of put it in cruise control early. It was 28-7 at halftime. Obviously, Pigeon Forge at 1 and 4 is not having the best season, but Alcoa really could have done a number on them, I feel, if they wanted to. But when you play that Maryville game, that's a tough game. It's a very physical game. A lot of guys probably just needed to get their bodies recovered after that game. So a 47-20 win, it gets you by. I have a feeling they started playing the backups pretty early in that game so that they could get some of their guys healthy again. Now, I don't know that anybody got injured in that Maryville game. Now, Lance Williams, their superstar offensive and defensive lineman, got banged up late in the game but returned. So it was just one of those games to get them past Maryville, past the Maryville hangover, that some teams will have after a big win. Maryville, they did not have any time for a letdown because Bearden came into town and they played them tough. It was a 28-7 win by Maryville over an impressive Bearden football team. But, that game was close early. I believe it was, 14-7 early around halftime. And, Maryville was their defense able to clamp down for that win. But it was not easy.
And we got after Maryville, we've got Gatlinburg Pittman. They're moving up to number 3 with a big win on the road against Union County this past Friday, 47-point win.
Yeah, Gatlinburg Pittman shot up the poll after that impressive win over Loudon, and now they just move up a spot into Sevier County's place. Gatlinburg Pittman, they ran away with this one early, 41-0 at halftime. Got the starters out, didn't risk any injury, and then came away with a 47-0 win. Of course, in the second half, you had a running clock, so it wasn't an opportunity to score a whole lot of points. Because once you get to a 35-point lead, that clock doesn't stop in the second half. So very impressive by Gatlinburg. They seem to be getting better and better by the week, so that's why they're our number 3 team. And what that's saying is that we believe they could hold their own against any of the teams below Maryville and Alcoa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very impressive showing. And coming in at number 4 was Jefferson County after their defeat of Morristown East. We've already talked about that game, but Sevier County dropped to number 5 after their pretty bad loss to West, 49 points.
Yeah, West got up on them 28-0 in the first quarter, and I knew it was on from then. West is a very good football team, and they're not in our coverage area, but they are just a smidgen outside of it. They are near UT. But, this is a team to watch. You will hear a lot about West in our stories and on our podcast the next few weeks because they still have both Alcoa and Maryville on the schedule, and Alcoa's coming up this next week on Thursday. So that's one I'm very excited for. And we'll talk more about that one later.
And then Morristown West at number 6. And tell us about how they ended up there.
Well, they took a tough loss the week before to Greenville, and I believe that took a lot out of them. They played well against Greenville, but Daniel Boone just come in, and this did not go the same way that the matchup with Davy Crockett went. Daniel Boone was stronger than Davy Crockett, and they really took it to Morristown West, 38-7. So that caused Morristown to drop down to number 6. 3-2 now. They would have fell further, but you're about to figure out why they didn't.
In fact, you had actually picked Morristown West to win that ball game by 2.5.
I did. I had a lot of faith in them after that Greenville game, but I had not seen Daniel Boone play. I knew they were undefeated, and so I just that was tough.
And looking now at number 7, Seymour coming in there in that slot after their 28-21 win over Sullivan East.
Yeah, Seymour was able to take care of business this week. And where were they at last week?
Seymour was unranked last week.
They came from the unranked, yes. So the 28-21 win over a Sullivan East team that's not very good. Normally that would move you up to number 7. But like I said, when you start going to number 7 and going back from who was there the week before, it just gets really hairy. I had a lot of trouble doing 7 through 10 this week. But Seymour just finds himself moving all the way into number 7, basically because they've got that 3-2 record and no one else is more deserving. But we need to see more from Seymour to move them up any higher.
And then coming in at number 8, joining the are moving up from the 10 spot last week up to number 8. It's Carter, and they had a big win over Scott this past week.
Yeah, that Scott game, Carter just demolished them, and it was not surprising. You've got a winless Scott team. They needed this win after a hard-fought win over Walker Valley, but now they're the only 2 and 3 team in our rankings, and they're at number 8 because they're the best 2 and 3 team that we have, and their 3 losses were just against very good teams. Except now the Gibbs loss, I mean, that one's still, jury's still out on that. But last 2 wins, a win over a team they were not favored against in Walker Valley, and then a blowout win over a team they should beat. That'll get you back in the rankings quick.
And looking at number 9, it's Lakeway Christian. They fell from number 7 last week, and after a hard loss to Gordonsville.
Yeah, that was our kind of Cinderella story early in the year with Lakeway starting out 3-0 to give them their most wins in school history, especially on the field. They had not won that many games the first 2 years. They got a lot of their wins off forfeits and COVID, but they've slid a little bit. A loss to Silverdale and now to Gordonsville. It's going to be tough sledding, and now they have probably the best team in their region coming in next week. So, obviously, it depends on what others do, but Lakeway's got to be really careful not to fall out of our rankings.
And for the first time this season, we see Cosby squeak into the top 10.
Yeah, Cosby made it to number 10 by virtue of not playing. I mean,
we talked about that last week.
Sure, they would have got in if they won, but they didn't play, and everybody else below them pretty much lost. So you had Cocke County up there ready to move into the top 10. What did they do? They laid an absolute egg against
Knoxville Halls.
Knox Halls, yeah, Halls, 57-7 loss. I was looking for that game. Then you had Heritage slide out. They could have beat Knox Central, and that would have been epic because they were in our rankings last week. They fall out, and the rest of the teams. You had William Blount getting shut out, which they're 0-5 now. And Morristown East, had they beat Jefferson County, you could have seen them come in, but they did not. And that's just how everything shook out this week. So maybe next week we'll have a better week so that it won't be so hard, to decide these last teams in the rankings.
Right. And speaking of that, we've just looked at week 5, so let's go ahead and look ahead to the week 6 games. We'll start with the preview with Gatlinburg Pittman, who is hosting Coosa Christian out of Alabama.
Yeah, this is a game that last year it was one-sided. It went all Gatlinburg Pittman. So I expect the same this year. I mean, Gatlinburg Pittman is on a roll right now, and I really, they've got one more tough game coming up against the Class 2A Hampton. Other than that, though, and that's a winnable game. Pigeon Forge played them really tough. It's setting up to be a collision course with Gatlinburg Pittman and Alcoa in the 3rd round, kind of like Pigeon Forge and Alcoa were last year. So, I mean, Gatlinburg Pittman, they just keep on rolling. So I don't know much about Coosa Christian, but I know that the game last year was very one-sided, and I don't think Gatlinburg Pittman will have a lot of trouble this year.
And we've mentioned West a good bit in the last couple of weeks, and you said we're going to be talking about them in the weeks ahead. So they're coming back this week with Alcoa. So Alcoa versus West.
Yeah, West, they may be better than last year's team that Alcoa had to survive 2 overtimes against and win on a 4th down play. That game was still one of the best games that I've watched since I've been covering football up here in the Smoky Mountain Sports area. And this will be a hard one to pick, but Alcoa is going to have their hands full again. So they needed that Pigeon Forge game to get some guys rested up because this is going to be a very tough game for them. But at least it's at home. They had to go to Maryville, so they've got the home crowd behind them. It was on the road last year.
And now we've got 2-3 Cocke County versus 3-2 Morristown West. How do you see this one?
Oh, Morristown West, they've got to get back on track. So this will be a good game to do so because Cocke County is now 2-3, and their season it can go up with a win, but it kind of the way they lost last week kind of seems like shows all indications of the season probably going south from here.
And up next, Lakeway Christian taking on Middle Tennessee Christian.
Yeah, this is the toughest team in their region. This is a region game. Middle Tennessee Christian is 4-1, and they're coming to Lakeway. That's going to be a very tough game for them to be able to get through. So yeah, I think the Lakeway's in a tough spot right now. They've got Friendship coming up too, who's a team that just dismantled TKA last week, and TKA's fell off our radar altogether. Since that big win over Meigs County on week 2. So they've now, are 1-4. They've lost 3 in a row. So I don't know. That's going to be a tough game.
See, you're over there stealing exactly what I was about to say. I was going to say TKA, who's dropped the last 3 games after a decent start. They're hosting Swain County from North Carolina this week.
Yeah, we've got 2 teams coming in from different states, so that'll be pretty cool. But TKA, they're going to be hosting Swain County. This game did not get played a year ago because of COVID. Swain County's coming in from Bryson City over the mountain, and should be an interesting game. But I don't know a lot about Swain County. I did not see them play last year, but right now TKA, I mean, that's just I don't know how this game's going to go for them. I think we've got an opportunity that a lot of our teams have tough matchups again, but I think it'll go better than last week because I'm sitting here talking about all these, and a lot of the ones where our teams don't play one another, it could be rough. You could see Alcoa get their first loss of the season. You really could, but we just got to see. That game will be on Thursday, so. That'll be one that I get to watch all of, so I won't be going from one game and trying to catch the second half at our game of the week location. So
yeah, that game's setting up to be a really good matchup. So now let's turn our attention to this week's game of the week. It is Carter taking on Carnes. Carter is 2-3 on the season, and Carnes is 4-1. So is it going to be as lopsided as the record reflects?
Well, I mean, Carnes has Deshaun Bishop, who is one of the top running backs in the nation. Last year, he led the nation in rushing yards. Now, they rely on him a lot, and Carter's defense has played great this year. This is one of those games where it's gonna be tough to bottle him up. They might run him 30, 40 times if they have to. This is a kid that I would not expect to see him have less than 300 yards in this game and probably 4 touchdowns. So Carnes is tough, but I want to see that game. I've not seen Bishop play in my 2 years, and he's a senior. He's got offers all over Tennessee, Virginia Tech. I'm not sure, where he's going yet, but he's got a bevy of offers.
Yeah, okay. He's the pick of the litter, and so he can pretty much go wherever he wants.
Yeah, I mean, Maryville's running back, Noah Vaughn, very good. But this guy's supposed to be the best in the state, possibly. So, going to be a fun matchup.
Yeah. You mentioned Tennessee, so let's go ahead and do our college preview. Tennessee, the one out of our 4 schools that won in week 3. They took on Akron and defeated them soundly 63-6.
Yeah, Tennessee did not look back after that overtime win against Pittsburgh. That game, they got off to a hot start, and Tennessee is just on a roll right now. They came in at, I believe, number 11 this week, so they're moving towards the top 10. That's the highest ranking since they got to number 9 in 2016. So that's the highest ranking Tennessee has had since 2016, the year that they got to 5-0 before losing in overtime to A&M and then getting dismantled by Alabama the next week. So that was during the Butch Jones era, for all of you that had tried to forget about that era.
Yeah, Tennessee moving on up the rankings, and they are being recognized for their success by ESPN College Game Day, who's going to be in town for the big matchup this weekend, Tennessee taking on Florida.
Yeah, this is going to be great. I'm planning on going down there early Saturday morning and hopefully get some sound bites from College Game Day and maybe visit with some tailgaters, and it's going to be fun. So that's the college game I'm planning on going to check out this week.
Right. All right. Well, let's move on to Maryville College. They are taking on Greensboro after another loss. They're 0-3 on the season, losing by 5 against Shenandoah this past Saturday.
Yeah, this is going to be another tough matchup for Maryville. I mean, Maryville, they just can't seem to get off the snide after that first game, which they really had a good chance to win. Now they're 0-3, and things appear to be headed south on their season at the moment.
And Carson Newman, our next school, they are 1-2 on the season, a 17-point overtime loss against Limestone.
Yeah, Carson Newman had a tough loss to Limestone last week. It's not going to get any easier this week as they will be facing Lenore-Ryan. Lenore-Ryan, they are 2-1, but their only loss comes to number 1 Ferris State, a 27-5 loss back in week 2. I know that their coach said that he wanted to get past that 1-9 season last year and improve, but a 1-2 start might be in store for them after Lenore-Ryan gets finished on Saturday. It's going to be a tough game.
And Tusculum, they are 2-1 on the season after dropping their game against Wingate with a 27-10 loss.
Yeah, that game was tough. I mean, they faced an unbeaten team, and now, they have Catawba who comes in, and Catawba, Tusculum has to go on the road, but this is a team, they played their first 3 games on the road, Catawba that is, and they get the week 1 win against Livingstone, but losses to Shorter and Mars Hill leave them at 1-2. So I think Tusculum's really got an opportunity to go on the road and improve to 2-1 or 3-1. I apologize.
Now it's time for the Weekly Advantage. That's your favorite segment of the week, I do believe. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get your predictions for this week. We'll start with Gatlinburg-Pittman versus Coosa Christian.
Gatlinburg-Pittman, like I said, I talked about this game earlier, and there's not a whole lot to say about it. Last year, Gatlinburg-Pittman won big, and this time, this is a game that's at home 2 years in a row. So, like, Coosa Christian does not want to play them in Alabama. They want a double trip to Gatlinburg. So Coach Wagner said last year that was one of the things they'd agreed on. They were going to come up here twice to get to go to Gatlinburg, and everybody wants to play at Gatlinburg. But once they get here, they will not enjoy the Smokies too much because they're going to leave with a 42-point loss. I'm taking Gatlinburg-Pittman minus 42.
That may be your biggest
it is. I had
biggest
40
pick
on one
earlier. You had 42 Alcoa over Northview Academy a couple of weeks ago. So Yeah. So that was a 55 point. So you did good on
Alabama
that
had
one. Okay.
49 and a half over La Monroe last week. So that was one of the biggest I'd ever seen in college that wasn't an
Yeah.
FCS school. So,
All right. So this one I think is going to be interesting. What's your pick on Alcoa versus West?
oh, man, this is just going to be a fun game. But, with Alcoa being in our coverage area, unlike the Maryville game, I'm a fan of one school here, so I'm going to be pulling hard that Alcoa comes through. I do like Alcoa, and I like them by 9.5. I do think that they're going to surprise some people. Yeah.
2 scores. Okay. All right. Cocke County at Morristown West.
Cocke County at Morristown West. This is Mo West's homecoming, so hopefully another Morristown team will not see their homecoming go down the drain. But this is a game that's very winnable for Morristown West, and I think they will win it convincingly because the way Cocke County got trounced last week by Halls, I think Mo West will win by 22 points. So I'll give them minus 22.
Wow. All right. Lakeway Christian versus Middle Tennessee Christian.
Oh man, that's one I told you I would worry about if I was Lakeway because this is a team that does really well in that lower class of Division II, the private schools. Granted, it is at home, and I think they're going to play a little bit tougher than most think. But I'm going to say Middle Tennessee Christian by 12.5. So Lakeway plus 12.5.
So moving along to the Kings Academy hosting Swain County.
Oh, man. I think that's going to be a very tough game for TKA. I don't know a whole lot about Swain County, but they lost to Smoky Mountain, which is in Silva, 21-20. And then their other loss was to Dade County, 14-0 last week. They've got some good wins over Pisgah, Franklin, North Buncombe. These are all teams over in North Carolina, the other side of the mountain. But just I think that Swain County will end up winning that game. So I'm going to take TKA on it plus 14. I give Swain County a 14-point win.
Okay. Now let's turn to our game of the week. It's Carter versus Carnes. Carter with a 2-3 record, Carnes with 4-1. So do you think it's going to go that way on Friday night?
Well, man, I know y'all are going to get on me if I keep picking against our teams. But Deshaun Bishop could go for 400. I mean, I would like to think that in the past couple of weeks, allowing 3 and 7, that Carter's defense has shored things up. But this is a guy that can just shred you. I think it'll be close, though. I really do. I think it'll be closer than many think. Now, Carter lost this game last year. But, I think that Chandler Wilson's going to have a good night. I think they're going to throw the ball around. You're going to see Harper, get a lot of catches, some big plays, but it's just not going to be enough because the legs of Deshaun Bishop are just going to get it done. And I'm going to take Carnes by 10.5.
Let's get your final thoughts on week 6 and get a preview of some of the other games happening.
Yeah, William Blount at Sevier County. Sevier County should get back on track and go to 5-1 on the year. Pigeon Forge should get a win at Scott to keep Scott winless. And the Northview goes to Oneida, so they're traveling up north this week. Maryville's at Science Hill. Science Hill 3-2 on the year. So Maryville, it doesn't slow down. They've got another pretty stout test on the road. Morristown East is on a bye, which they needed dearly after that Jeff County game. Jeff County is on a bye, so that's our 2 teams that are on a bye this week. As the byes are going to start coming in they're going to start coming in more frequently after this week. See Seymour at Heritage. That's going to be a very tough game. If Seymour's not careful, they could drop this one. Heritage is a much improved team. So this is a battle of number 7 versus a team that was in our rankings a week ago. South Dole at Farragut. Going to be tough for South Dole against a good Farragut team. And then you've got Cloudland at Cosby. Cloudland is 1-3. So this will be where Cosby stakes its claim to see if they can stay in our rankings. And that's the list. We don't have quite as many games as we had last week. We got a couple byes, and we got a few teams playing one another within the area. So that's where we're at. I'm excited for Alcoa and West. I'm excited to see Deshaun Bishop on Friday night, and then I'm excited for College Game Day and to stomp the Gators out of town.
It's going to be an exciting week in East Tennessee, that's for sure. A lot of stuff going on. So as we go through the week, if you have any score updates or finals that you want to send along our way, you can text those to us. The number is 865-268-9088. That's 865-268-9088. You can get all the latest scores and stories at our website, SmokyMountainSports.com, SmokyMTNSports.com. Brian, I want you to go. I want you to have lots of fun on Saturday morning at College Game Day. And if I don't see you on TV, I'm going to be really disappointed.
Well, I spent last week at the I didn't get to go to a game last week because I was with Walter State, where I'm a professor there, and we had our TCA conference, Tennessee Communication Association conference, which I presented at. So I was checking out all the games on Twitter on Friday night while we had our correspondents out doing some games. So, so I'm glad to be back in the saddle again, and it's going to be a fun weekend. What better weekend to be back?
And hopefully it'll have great weather and just be an exciting weekend all around.
Just because you said that, it'll rain.
I was trying to jinx it. No, I'm just kidding. All right, well, that's going to do it for Smoky Mountain Sports. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks.
Have a good one.